Hi everyone, welcome to Monday Jumpstart with Happy Paper People. I am so excited to be with you here today on Monday as a premiere so that I can actually be in chat with you. That is something we haven't done in a very long time, and I do miss being in chat with you. I don't know why it's so much easier for me just to do the live than to do the premiere. But that's what we're going to do today because I want to be in chat with you. So welcome, welcome, welcome to everyone who is new. We are happy to have you here. Happy Paper People is, the nicest group of people you'll ever find. Please join us in Facebook at Happy Paper People with Marianne Facebook group. And you're already here on YouTube, so we're just glad that you're here. So if you are returning, we also welcome you because without you, we would not have a group. So love everyone in Happy Paper People. It's just a fantastic group. A couple weeks ago, we made these backgrounds using Diane Reevely's style that she teaches. So I did a workshop with her where she taught how she does her backgrounds, and we did backgrounds Diane Reevely style in an art journal. The art journal can be any size. This just happens to be a Dylusions art journal that I worked in that day. However, when we did that background, we did that one and we did this one. When we did that background, we had a second piece of paper here. And it's mixed media paper because we used it over the top of this. You have to use quite a bit of ink and to make sure that you get full coverage and to get, all the things that you want there. But we obviously don't want it to go to waste, so we used a second sheet. So I knew the question was going to come up. What do we do with these? These are not attached to our art journal. What do we do with them? We can do all kinds of things with them, but today we are going to smack something and make a loud noise in your ear first. We are going to look at how to turn these into very simple or complicated, if you want, art journal or art trading cards, artist trading cards, ATCs. You've all seen ATCs, artist trading cards and artist trading coins. We can do something super, super simple like this. All I did was punch a decorative edge. This is the background as it is with, you can see there's some things added there. A couple of collage fodder pieces and a little sentiment, keep it real. So we can go as simple as that. I have not inked or anything. You could ink around this, which would give it a little bit of a frame if you choose to do that. I gave it a little frame with a black pen. I love the way Diane does around everything and just doesn't worry about how if it's sloppy or perfect or not, and it always just looks hand drawn, and I love the look. Here is another look we can do. We can take the background and do what we're going to do on it and put a nice little hand-drawn collage fodder on it right there. Instead of gluing fodder on it, we can draw the fodder on it and let that be the card. Now these I cut slightly smaller than ATC. ATC is 2.5 by 3.5. Okay, and so if we want it to be ATC size, if we're going to mount it to get a little bit of a frame with this black, then that is 2.5 by 3.5. The inside, I just did 1/4 of an inch shorter, so 2.25 by 3.25. So that'll fit inside and give 1/8 of an inch on either all sides. And these really could just be cute little. They could be winter. They're really actually fall colors. And when I did the white splatters, I realized it kind of looks like snow. So they really could be little winter artist trading cards. They could be gift tags. You could use them as gift tags. They could be covers on mini journals. They could be journal cards in a junk journal or any other kind of journal that you want. You can write a sentiment on. You can stick stickers on of any kind that you have some that are in gold, some that are in black backgrounds, white backgrounds, no background. So I had originally cut them to be artist trading card size, and when I cut them down to mat them, I ended up with a bunch of tiny little offcuts because I cut 1/4 of an inch off. And so sometimes I cut a little bit off this side and a little bit off that side, depending what I wanted to leave on. So I took those tiny little offcuts and decided to make those into a little tree. And then I figured that kind of looks like a partridge in a pear tree. So that could be a cute little gift card, little gift tag, or it could go in a journal. And if you are going to use it for the holidays, who says that it has to be red and green and white? You know, make it any color you want. And it isn't necessarily holiday. I put the word peace on and then realized it made me think of the holiday, so it doesn't have to be. I could have put the word friend on that one. You know, could put the word friend. Doesn't matter. The little bird is the friend. So anything you want to do there. So I'm going to show you how we'll do that super easily. The other night I sat up late and had a little bit of a play with some paint. And no gel plate, no stencils or anything like that. I just played with paint. And I posted some of those in the group so that you could see them. I was just messing around with, I had one tool. I had 2 tools. I ended up only using 1 tool and just playing with it to see what I could do just with paint. And I taped my paper down so it would hold still. And I ended up with some pretty cool painty paper that, I mean, you could call it washi. It is. Painter's tape is just like washi tape. It's going to come up real easily. I took them and just put them on this piece of paper so I could pull them up and use them as washi. But then as I was getting these out, I realized, yeah, they would go with that. I could use those to embellish that one. I could use these to embellish this one. I just wanted to do something in warm and something in cool. Hadn't really thought about matching these. But, all right, so here's how we're going to do it. We are going to take each of these sheets. Let's start with just one. Now, the sheet that you used might not be the same as the sheet that I used. So you need to look at the one that you have. So if I take my piece of paper, it is just over 11.5 by just over 8.5. So just over 8.5 by just over 11.5. So I could, I think about that as 8.5 by 11. But if I want to think about artist trading cards, they are 2.5 by 3.5. And so I can look at how many of those can I get out of this paper. First thing you want to look at, this is actually the way I did it. First thing you want to look at, is there a direction that you want your cards to be? So this was the orientation when I made it. That doesn't mean that I have to keep it that way. If I like it this way, I could do it this way. If I like it better that way, I don't really think I want to use it sideways because it's a pretty big pattern, and 2.5 wide is only not going to give the full pattern, and it is kind of neat to get the contrast of the negative and the positive within the pattern. So I am going to do it this way. So knowing that my cards want to be this way means that I need 2.5 inches, 2.5 inches, 2.5 inches across, okay? And then I will cut them 3.5 the other direction. Now, I don't know because I haven't figured on this piece of paper, is that the best way to maximize the paper and get the most out of it that I can. This one, I could probably do that because it isn't really oriented any particular way that, you know, like the design on this one. I'm not too concerned about that because if I have some little offcuts, I will use them one way or the other. I love little strips like this that end up offcut, and I will use those, most definitely. Lots of things for collage. So before we cut that, let me show you what we're going to do to this. So let me just make sure I've got my time correct here. Okay. All right, so let's see if I can get this straightened out just a little bit. We've got some background here. We want to do a little bit more background on that. You can see some background on these. And that background, I'll accept the black one. That background can be any number of things. So the easiest way to get that is going to either be with stencils or with stamps, or you could use both. So the samples that I showed you are only stamps. I grabbed, well, I didn't grab, I already have on my desk a couple of stencils, not a whole lot to choose from. Got a little chevron, or is that a herringbone? I don't know. And some circles, polka dots of different sizes. So let me show you how I would use these, because I mean there's just not very much there. So first of all, if I put on the background, I want to do something that is darker and something that is lighter, even though it's all going to be background. So this being great big, I would probably want this to be lighter, so it would just kind of fade into the background. And so I could do a color that is in the same color range, you know, say a cool color like these, but that you would see, but is not going to stand out a whole lot. I could also use something basic and not take it dark like a vintage photo. If I wanted it to be darker, I could go with ground espresso or black soot. I don't think I want this to be darker. This is pretty big and bold. I don't want it to be the focal point. So let's try a little bit of vintage photo here. And I'm just going to grab a dauber. I know that I need to ink up most of my ink pads. I just realized as I was pulling this out that I actually have 3 vintage photos. That's the second one. So how I got 3 vintage photos, I don't know. But yeah, they'll all get used up. So I'm going to, I just inked that up pretty good. That could be pretty dark, I'm not sure. I just don't want it to be pretty dark on my paper. So as I go over this, I'm just going to give that light, but I can keep it in place. I can pick it up and look at it. There, that's fairly light. And that's all I want is light. I don't want this overtaking anything. I don't want it to cover the entire ATC. So if I move it around and just get a little bit here and there, then hopefully every ATC will get just a little bit of something, but not a whole focal point of polka dots. And these are great big, so to offset those, get just a couple of those. To offset those, I would probably then go to these smaller ones, smaller polka dots, and just add some of those as well. And I will let those also be fairly light so that they can just melt into the background. They're obviously going to be seen a little bit. That fodder just keeps jumping out here. They're going to be seen a little bit better on this lighter color, like this light green as opposed to dark green or the blue, but that's okay. Really what I'm looking for is shadow, a shadow effect. So just a small bit of these dots here and there, like I'm running off the page. And I do this while it's whole, before it's been cut, purposely for exactly that reason. Want them running off the page. I don't want them to look like the ATCs were cut and then they were specifically done on that ATC. All the dots are on there. It's just, you know, too placed, too, I don't know, too formally placed, too specific. So doing it as a whole, then when we cut them down, we don't know exactly where those cuts are going to be. It'll be a much more natural placement. So the next thing I'm going to do, and you don't have to do stencils at all. On the samples that I showed you, I didn't do any stencils at all. I only used stamps. So then I would grab some mark making stamps, and I've been sorting stamps, and I've been pulling mark making stamps separately and setting them in a container. And so this has a few mark making stamps. There's some script. I do like that. Let's see, there's some good fodder. You could stamp that and then just nice dark black and then cut it out. Here's a Seth Apter mark making, a couple of those. Those two are good. Some music is always good. There's some bricks. That might be enough. If we need more, we can come back here and grab one. We've got just all kinds of little stitches, marks, whatever we might need. So let's start with those. Bubbles, squiggly lines, all kinds of things. All right, so this one I want to be darker. So I'm going to start with the ground espresso and see if that is dark enough. I'm going to start with some of the music. And if I was doing just a small ATC, I would just ink up just a part of it and smash it down here and there. But we've got the whole piece of paper, so we can. I mean, you could put it on a block and put it down, but I'm not, because when it isn't pressed evenly and it kind of gets just here and there, that's a really cool look. It's that faded in and out. In fact, I don't like putting that whole thing down, because if that's an ATC right there, it's going all the way across it. So what I would prefer is the mark making technique of that. And so that is just taking a portion of it, stamping here and there. It doesn't even matter if it's the same portion of it, because they're on different, they're going to end up on different cards. I'll do another one just because, and up the other end, but they're not going to look the same anyway, and they're going to be partially covered. Okay, so we get some music here and there. Hopefully enough around that there will be at least a little bit of music on every card. Let's see, nothing up there. Okay, and we've got other things, so we don't want only music. Here is some script. I bought a whole bunch of just mark making stamps like this from a mixed media artist who was moving, and I don't remember if she told me that arrow means that that's up of the writing or down, because that writing is so small, that script is so small you can't tell until you stamp it. And I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters what direction it's going. Just going to get a little bit of that script down here and there. Even over or under the music is awesome. Okay, now let's get, oh, there was another one. I think that was it. I thought, well, what a weird stamp. All it is like some funky lines, but I did it anyway, and I love it. I love how it did just these weird little lines over the top of things. So I'm going to save that and do that towards the end a little bit. Okay, so here's this mark making stamp. I don't know where the cuts are going to be, but I'm really hoping that a cut is right down the middle of that, or not exactly middle, you know what I mean. Cuts this in half into more than one card, because I don't want the whole thing to be on a particular card. And with that, I could have waited until I cut them and then just done a little bit of this, you know, on the side on a card. I can also just do a half. You know, you don't have to put the entire stamp down to get the mark. Remember that. You don't have to put the entire stamp down to get the mark. So here are some cool, what are these? Argyle socks. Little Argyle sock pattern. And let's do a little bit of that just here and there. So this one's darker. So if you look hard, you can still see the dots, the polka dots. If you look hard, you can still see the original background that we did with the stencil with the color. However, none of it is jumping out at you. Nothing is jumping out at us, and that's what I want. I want it all to just kind of fade away together until you look closely at it and go, oh, look, that's like Argyle sock pattern, or that one is, there's music, there's some script, there's this, that, and the other. You know, we want it to all kind of blend in there. Now, when we get it cut, if we decide any particular piece is lacking something, we can go in and add whatever we need to add. So here's some of those funky little lines. Put some of those in here. even side by side, and one a little bit longer than the other one that's right next to it. I'm pressing a little harder to get a little more ink where I can see that the ink on the paper is a little darker to make sure that we can see it, but otherwise just some random marks here or there. You could also do this with a pen, with a marker. You just go through and do random marks. You could take your marker, your pen, your gel pen, works really well with something like this, and you could make a bunch of pluses, a bunch of X's, a bunch of circles, a bunch of squares, a bunch of diamonds, a bunch of lines, just like this, of different lengths, all kinds of things you could do there. Okay, and then this is a funky one. They're like bubbles, and we don't have a lot of space left. However, I noticed that when I saw these, I'm looking for one where I could see some of that one. There's an offcut. There's a very edge. When I saw some of these on the cards, they sure looked cool. Like right there. See those little, we can get a focus. Maybe we can get a focus. You can see the little bubble circles up and down. So they have a very cool effect on top of or underneath other things like music or script. So we're just going to stick them in there. So the way to, some of you are probably thinking, oh my goodness, that is a lot of stamping. And it is. You don't have to put this much stamping on, honestly. You could put way less. And I'm going right over the top of those circles that we stenciled. You do you, as Timmy says. You don't have to put this much on. You can do as much or as little, and any colors that you like. What I find, I like all of the things. I like to be able to look at it and go, wow, I didn't see that at first. Look at those cool little bubbles there. Oh, look at those little marks coming out of there. Oh, there's the Argyle socks, and there's that round one. There's the script just hidden back there. Nothing jumps out at me at the beginning when I first start looking at it, but the more I look at it, the more I see. There's music, and yeah, I like that. But you don't have to use any particular amount. All right, so let's move these over out of our way. And now let's cut this down. So to cut it down, I'm going to start at this side because there is color all the way to the edge. I like this and having white on the bottom or the top. And you'll notice that I used some of them. This is not paint. This was the bottom or the top of the page that had the extra white on it when I cut them. I like that. However, this is a lot of white. It would be cool if and I don't know how many I'm going to get out of this, but if it comes over here and there's a little bit of white showing, that would be really cool. So to not second guess or question or judge what it's going to be, I'm just going to flip this over. I know I want to work from this end though, and I know that I want, because I said I wanted oriented this way, I want 2.5-inch strips going this way, right? And then I'm going to cut those strips into 3.5-inch cards. So 2.5-inch strips. I'm going to start with a 5-inch strip, and then I'll just cut that in half. The bigger the paper, the easier it is to cut a bigger strip off of it. So I'm cutting a 5-inch strip. Yeah, I could have pulled out my large paper trimmer, but this one is always just sitting right here, and when I'm only cutting one piece, it just seems so easy to do. So this is 5 inches. I'm going to go back here and do 2.5. 2.5, 2.5. And just slide it forward. There we go. All right. And then I've got a little bit of white on top and bottom because I have to decide which end I want to start my 3.5-inch from. And maybe I go from both ends and what's left over is in the middle. that is completely an option. So let me see. If this is 11.5 wide and I want 3.5 inch cards, that's going to be 3.5, 7, 10.5. That is going to leave 1 inch unused. If I want a little bit of that white, then what I might do is just cut that off. There's a little bit of white there. And cut that off. There's a little bit of white there. I don't know. And then I can cut 3.5 inches. All right. Some people don't even look at it and just completely cut it and get what they get. Which I do like to do if it's completely covered. If I've got that white, I like to see, what do I want? Okay, so I'm down to this piece. And I need 3.5 inches. And this is 4.5, so there's going to be an inch come off, whether it's here or here. I'm going to take it off of the center, because that's actually a fairly large piece that could be used for all kinds of things. So I'm going to set that to the side. All right, so let me take this one and same thing. I'm going to cut a little bit off of that, and we'll go 3.5. Now, what I didn't think about ahead of time is whether I want to mount these like on the black paper, like we did these. I didn't think about that at all. Or do I want to just do them as, traditional cards, one layer? There's another nice piece. These are all white, although they do have a little bit of stamping on them. They're all white. I'm going to toss those when we get some that have, oh, did that last? No, I did. Okay, I got that. Here's my scraps for that last piece. All right. So here is what we ended up with from that, and then we can decide whether we want it upside down or right side up, because our design on the stencil goes the same direction, and we still have this, so we're going to get a whole nother 3 more out of that. But we'll start with these right here. So this one is ATC size. These are ATC size. So if we wanted to put it on here, oops, didn't mean to bump the camera. Then if I wanted a border to be like a little frame, then I would want to cut just a little bit off of it. So I could put it on here to decide, do I want to or do I not? I mean, that's pretty dark. That blue is pretty dark. Maybe I don't want it on that, but this one is quite a bit lighter. Maybe I do want it on that one. But they don't all have to be the same. Unless you want to do them the same and make a series that's all the same, they don't exactly have to be the same. So the corners can be squared, the corners can be rounded, the corners can be decorative. They can be anything you want. It passes as an ATC if it's 2.5 by 3.5. So, all right, so we've got those. Now, don't forget, I've also got these washies, homemade washies, if we want to use them. I'm not sure if I do or not. Honestly, I haven't thought about decorating these at all. Just wanted to go through the process with you as I would, from cold. So I pulled out my fodder, all my collage fodder, and it's all huge. This was about the smallest thing I had, and that would work, but it's pretty darn big. It's pretty darn big on an ATC. So I need to make some smaller fodder, and so I did. These purple flowers were really pretty. Now I'm not sure that purple is a good thing for that. I did a couple of leaves there. That one is blue. Those would probably go. Those are the other colors. So let me show you a couple of things here. That bird, leaves. There's a couple more flip. Boy, I just keep hitting that camera today, don't I? So making some fodder, there are a lot of different ways to do it. I had a couple of pages here that I had tried a product and a technique on. Didn't exactly get the result I wanted, so I didn't have anything specific to use it for. So I thought this is cool paper, especially because of the variety of color to draw and cut out some fodder on. And I actually drew like the shape of the back of the bird and was going to draw something else, and I went, oh, that just looks like a bird. So I just drew another one, and that's how the bird ended up being. Super simple, just super, super simple. Same thing with this one. These were done the same day, just with trying something. I didn't have anything specific to use them for. So this one should make some good fodder for these, because it's in the same cool realm, and this one makes some good fodder for these because it's in the warm colors. But then, as we've talked about before, and if you haven't seen it, we do have a really fun live where we went through making collage fodder from scratch and using book pages and using magazine pages. Book pages are really easy. Just open an old book and doodle the fodder on the page. And I know half of you are going, I can't draw at all. If you go back and watch our live, I will make sure it's in the description box. But if you watch that, we showed exactly how to draw them for a non-drawing artist. That's me. I am not a drawing artist. And so we showed how to do them without having to have drawing experience or even drawing talent. But these purple flowers, when you look at magazine pages to do fodder, look at the colors, not the design, because you're not going to see what the design is. You're only going to see the colors, like the pretty purple. These came off of the back there. Food is awesome. Food has great color in it, and nobody's going to see the food. The bowl had perfect green for some really nice leaves. Again, there. This one, I love these flowers and the idea of doing these partially on and partially off, so these flowers would have multiple colors, and I'll do more down here with the yellow and the pink as well. And I didn't do it over the butterfly because I will actually cut the butterfly out, and he'll be great collage fodder. And look at this. Yellow vegetables makes for a really nice yellow flower for collage fodder. Even the color of somebody's shirt can be flowers and mushrooms. And so I was drawing some small ones, some teeny tiny ones to go with ATCs. Some blue ones. This was a fun page. And not that I want to put that on my ATC, but when you see these fodder pieces cut out, you'll never know where they came from, what the ad was that they came from. So I think I did anything on the other side. Again, soup with multiple colors, some pretty yellow flowers with little splashes of green, orange in there. Same thing here. Her red hair will make a really nice splash on the flower. Avocado and broccoli, great variegated colors for leaves. Avocado with pepper on it, great leaf. The spinach, all these things, they're just different shades of green, and so they make great leaves. And notice how easy these flowers are. They're just literally, and look at this, you all can draw this, a straight line, and this is a figure eight, and a line through it. And the variation of color that's in here is what makes these look real when you cut them out. When you draw them, everybody looks at them and goes, oh my gosh, that just looks awful. Looks like a kindergarten drawing. And honestly, most of the time it does. But what I ask you to do is trust the process. Because if you trust the process and you follow through with cutting it out, you will find that it actually looks amazing. All the fodder that you see people do out there, you see the pictures on Pinterest and YouTube and all over the place, they all said the same thing. Oh my gosh, that looks awful. Just trust the process and it will work. It will come through. So I am going to grab this one for some of these little, where's the one? There we go. I don't know if that color is good. Maybe, maybe not. This pink is sure pretty. And cut out a couple of these. Just cut out a couple of these small ones so that we can use them on one of these ATCs. But you can decide whether you are going to mount them on something or just leave them as they are. I think I might leave them as they are. I might end up rounding the corners. I will probably, and see, sometimes I do the fodder in black and sometimes I do it in white. And so the colors I have here will help determine that as well. So it might start out, like I might originally draw it in black and then come back and do some white embellishment on it. Might be black and white. Or I might have done these in white, and then when I put them on, they might need the black frame, and so I'll go back with the black gel pen or the black Posca or paint pen or whatever it is that you use, and put the black on it as well. Let's see if I can cut out a couple of quick mushrooms. So I would really encourage you to go back and watch our live with the collage fodder. There were several of us on that live, and they had just a really awesome array of fodder for you to see and to see how to draw. We showed how to draw everything, super easy. One of the things we talked about was cutting the fodder out, not on the lines that you draw, but outside of the lines, and how that seems to give it a different look. And if you look at some of the fodder that you see that you've admired on YouTube or Pinterest or wherever you're seeing it around, look and see, are they cutting it on the line or are they cutting it outside the line so that there's color outside of that white or black? I really like when there's color outside of that white or black. Trying to decide, let's see, let's just do one. Oh no, this one with the white is kind of jumping out at me. That might be too much blue there. So this is blue with the white spots, and it kind of feels like it needs black. It needs the dark of the black. I have a black Posca. I also have just a black gel pen that works quite well. Let's see how this works here. Sometimes, and I'm going to go over the white line, I'm also okay if some of the white shows through, to have the black and the white. That's okay. And it's harder to do once it's cut out because it wants to move all around. But I feel like the paper is a fairly light blue and the white is light, and so it needs the darkness. Sometimes instead of large dots on the mushroom like this, I'll just make polka dots all over, and that is super cute. And if it's a really light color paper, you can also use different colors to make the polka dots, which is also super cute. So we can do this. We can also come down here at the bottom and draw what would look like a little bit of grass at the base. That works too. I will show you real quickly with a strip of green. Here's a good strip of green right here. With a strip of green, an easy way to make your grass, and I've done this on a number of them with these little mushrooms. These little mushrooms are so easy. So easy. Okay, so I know this is too wide right now, but it doesn't even matter. What I'm going to do is, let's see, fairly a lighter one. Okay, so I don't need all that much because it's only 2.5 inches wide. So I'm going to do this, and basically just going to cut some little tiny pieces of little blades of grass, and you can make them as thick or as thin as you like. And as you cut, you see that the ones in between are going to start falling out. And when they don't fall out, you can just grab them and kind of pull them out, you know, or cut it a little bit tighter so that they come out. And you can make them all different heights so that they look real natural and really natural. That's kind of funny, isn't it? How natural are they going to look? But you can make them as thin as you want. If you make them thinner, then they stand much closer together. I'm making them fairly thick, and so you're seeing them, you know, apart from each other. But if you make them thin, real thin, they stand much closer together, and then they really do look much more like blades of grass. But in a hurry, it is easier to make them thicker. So just trying to get, I'm going to go ahead and do it all the way across. The way across the bottom, as if it's the mushroom is sitting in the grass, and maybe we'll have a bird or something else coming up out of the grass. You know, sometimes it helps to stop and think about, plan a little what you want to do, but nah, I rarely do that, and I should. But sometimes it's fun just to play and just to cut and glue and have it be however you want. These collage fodder pieces are so fun to use too in your glue book or your art journal. If you feel like an art journal needs to be, you know, like a new technique that you've tried or a specific thing that you did, then if you don't have a glue book, watch our live about a glue book from last month and start yourself a glue book. And it can be a magazine. You can get a magazine that's going to the trash and just glue on top of the pages. A glue book doesn't have to be any special book because it's going to get stuff glued on top of it. The whole thing is going to change anyway. Okay? And so start yourself a glue book, because the whole point of the glue book is just to be able to glue things down. Sometimes it just feels good to glue things down. Honestly, I'll admit that. It's like kindergarten all over again. So I'm going to put this little mushroom right here behind the little grass that's coming up. Now this grass is down lower than my ATC, because when I glue it on, then I'll just cut it off, because I don't want it to be that big. I'll make it a little bit smaller. Didn't we have a little bird up here? We do. Maybe he's kind of big bird, but he's kind of a big bird, but he can sit in the grass too. I don't know. I could draw a smaller bird. It's a gigantic mushroom. Maybe the mushroom goes down farther. Maybe the bird comes up here. I don't know. Maybe the bird doesn't belong there at all. Maybe I should have taken time to cut out some more small fodder. I drew some, but I didn't take time to cut it all out. Just, maybe we're just looking at a bunch of flowers. Sorry, Margie, flowers. Put some lace around it. I do kind of like that flower, actually. Purple and the green by itself. And this right here, we cut off down here. Put it right there. And then a sentiment or a word right here. Now, I don't think I'm done with these that I already showed you. And I'll show you why as soon as we finish this one. But maybe it's just going to be that one flower for now. And then we're going to continue with that. So I'm going to do that just also in the interest of time. You could use washi tape. You could use any other embellishments. People have said, what do I do with collage fodder? I'm loving just gluing it into a glue book, quite honestly. But another thing that is really easy to use it for is not only art journal pages where you might have a scene, but an ATC like this. Or if you are a card maker, if you are a greeting card maker, you can make some really cute cards with fodder. the magazine pages that have a little bit thicker pages sometimes are easier to cut. These are super, super thin. It might be a little harder to cut. And papers like this is mixed media paper. That is a whole lot easier to cut as well. So, all right, so I don't want this all the way up. I'm going to bring that clear down here. Don't care that some glue goes up here because it'll dry clear. And also, might need to put a little bit under some of those individual blades of grass. Okay, so I'll just go back here and chop that off, and chop that off, and chop that off. Okay, so there's our little grass. And you could put a little bug down there, put a frog, put a bee, anything like that. It would be super cute. I think I'm going to round the top corners and then see if I want to round the bottom. Maybe I don't. Maybe I only want to round the top. That's kind of cute. Okay, not done yet, but we'll see. Okay, so my thought with not being done with these, and this one has a lot of possibility. That little tree there. Let's move some of this over here. There's a lot of things that you can do with this now. We can use washi tape. We can use any other kind of embellishments. We could go back and we could add some fodder. I put a bird on that one. We could add a bird. Yeah, I could draw a smaller bird and put a bird sitting on top of this, or you know, in here, anywhere actually that we want. But I just grabbed a container of Nouveau drops because I thought it might be cool to have some drop. I was thinking flat back pearls or flat back other colors, and then I thought, well, what about some drops? So I could do some black drops. I could do some white drops. These are opaque, not shiny, not glossy. What about this? This is called White Blizzard, and that is a glittery white like snow. Might be pretty to do some drops. But the other thing that comes to mind as I look at these is the jewel drops. The jewel drops are translucent. So this one is peach sorbet. And so I see the color would be a good match here. And when you put it down and it dries, you get the color. However, you can see through it. It's translucent. So both of those would be a nice color. Let's see what's this green. Key lime. That would probably work too. So we could do some translucent drops on there. We could do black, we could do white, we could do translucent. If we do translucent on this, will it look like maybe little raindrops sitting on there? That might be cool. So you could do that in the corner. We could do it on our fodder that we drew. Could do it on the end of each one of these, or not. Just, in fact, let's see here. I think there's a lot of orange on this one. How about we get some of the pink? Let me see what other pinks we have. This is also a jewel, so it is translucent, and that is called Honeysuckle. I'm actually going to oh, you know what, I should do that. Well, I was going to do that on, probably should do it on a scrap of this so we could see what it would actually look like on that. Huh, that would make a whole lot more sense. Let's do it on here. I want to see what this honeysuckle would look like if we put some on here. And it'd take a minute to dry. Buy this peach sorbet. We can see what they all look like. Probably should make a small drop so it dry faster, but what is this one? Orange marmalade. I have started storing these, well, for about a year now. I've been storing them upside down. If you use these drops or any other brand and you're going along and you're making a nice line or drops, and then all of a sudden you get this big squirt and it blows your line out, and boy, that's frustrating. That's because, as you know, there's air bubbles in there. So by storing them upside down, it is always drained to the top as if it were the bottom. And then when I pick it up to use it that way, I don't get those air bubbles coming out. So consider that. And I just like to put them in this plastic container. I have 3 or 4 of these that hold them. I just stand them upside down. Each one is full, so when it's full, they stand straight up. Now I'm going to try some of this blue too, because we've got a blue one that we're doing right now. It looks like it needed to be shaken up just a bit. That one's called Sea Breeze, so it's kind of a blue-green. Let's see, there's some with sparkle. These are glitter drops. Dazzling Blue, Aquatic Mist. What have we got here? So we might want something even lighter. Aqua Plains. Or maybe, because this is all really dark, maybe we just want something. Let's see, there's a pink, what is that called? Ruby Slippers. And it is not jewel, so it is not translucent, but it is sparkly. That would be really pretty on those. So maybe we want that. Could always go, yeah, we could always put that right in the middle of them with a coppery Golden Sunset. Let's wipe that off. If it can roll in it, it will, right? Okay. Might want to just go back to black and white too. I'm a little hesitant on the white because I've got the white splatters, and I didn't do that on this one. I will show you how I did it on these. There's, as you know, there's a number of ways that you can do it, and I always just choose an easy way. I feel like that's making a whole lot of noise there, and I don't like that. So this one is Ivory Seashell. If you want something that looks like flat back pearls, this is my recommendation. I love Ivory Seashell to get a flat back pearl. But let's look at this. So all of these, you can see some really nice color. They're not dry yet, but as they dry, they are translucent. So these are perfect for eyeballs, because you can see the color of the eyeball, yet you can see into it. But there's that ruby slipper. There's that ruby slipper that has sparkles in it. I'm having a little bit of a focusing problem, I can see. Anytime we have sparkles, the camera has a difficult time with focusing on that. I also forgot to check if the autofocus was on before we started, so not going to do that right now, so just hang tight with me and I will make a note to do that before we do this next time. All right, so I'm going to set that aside, but I'm going to say that I really like that ruby slippers as a nice accent on that orange, and maybe even as the center of that flower. This one, we need to find a sentiment for it and then think about what we're doing. I might do both a black and a white. Might do both a black and a white in the corner. I don't know. I should think this through before we go live, because I have a much harder time thinking it through live. I feel in a hurry always, and that doesn't work. I have to be very relaxed and not in a hurry to do that. I'm going to take this ruby red slippers and I'm going to put one right in the center of that top little flower or star or whatever it is, whatever you want to call it. And I think I'm not going to do the end of each one, but I think I'm going to do the center of each one. Why not? Just because we can, right? Why do we do it? Because we can. Because we like it. because it's fun to squeeze it. Okay. That'll add just that little bit of sparkle when that's dry. All right, so I'm going to set that one aside and try really hard not to stick my fingers in that. All right, now this copper sunset, is that what it is? Golden sunset. Let's see what that looks like. I think that one would be really pretty on this one. So I'm just going to do the top and let that be our top. But I might, I was thinking of just accenting the words. It says just journal. Just journal. So make a cute little journal card to stick into a journal. And maybe instead of more dots, let's just give it a little bit of accent in the corners. These are great. These are great for that. Doesn't have to be all four corners, just highlighting. And as long as we're going, I just like squeezing it. I'm going to give it a little whoop-de down here. There we go, just a little accent on the words. So we'll set that aside and hope I don't stick my fingers in it. Let me get the pin back in the glue, since we're not using that right now. Alrighty, so this one I think would be fun with something clear, translucent in the center, so when it dries we'd still be able to see. And for now I'm just going to do just that one dot and let that dry. I can look at it tomorrow and see what I think. I could also do some green down here by the grass, but let's find a sentiment. This feels just a lot of green. It doesn't feel my style. It doesn't feel complete. It doesn't feel. So I'm not sure what it needs. I don't know, honestly. I don't think that inking the edges is really going to make that big of a difference. Maybe it will. Maybe it needs to be mounted on light paper. If I don't like it, I can rip the grass off and I can put something right over the top of it. It's only paint, right? I mean, just always remember that. It's only paint, so if you don't like it, you can paint over it. It's only paper. You can throw it away. You absolutely can throw it away. So let me see if I have something in gold. Patience. That might be a good one for right now. Sufficient. Ooh. Sing. Now if I put a bird on there, then sing would be really good. Let me see what words. I should have probably grabbed my Timmy books of words. These are the ones that are super close. Whatever. Seriously. Chills. Don't forget time for turns. Now what? But I'm not sure. These have the clear. This is like this. Has the clear background and just the black words. I'm not sure that's going to show up. You can also, I could also write a word in white gel pen and then cut out the square and let that be the backing to it, as if I was taking something like this. And I love these. These are just longer though. They are whole sentences. Diane is the queen of sass. Love her. Love all her sassy sentiments. But I run like the winded. I dislike you less than most. But there's just their whole sentences, and that doesn't really fit on there. So I don't want to cut one up. These are great on an art journal page because you have more room to put them down. Being an adult is like folding a fitted sheet. Well, yeah, I quite often. I believe in annoyance at first sight. So, don't question my sanity until you've eaten my crayons. Cats have 32 muscles in each ear to help them ignore you. So she has some great ones. All right, so let's do this. I'm looking here. I saw in the gold beautiful. I saw create, joyful. I think joyful might work. Let's see. Wonders, encourage, delight. Adored, thankful. Grow. I like grow. I like grow with the flower. There we go. So we take the gold word grow. Where's it going to go? It's going to go down here. I'm always going to add a little bit of glue to it because, you know, we don't trust the adhesives on any of the embellishments to last. There we go. Now we got grow. I kind of feel like this is outlined in white and like it really kind of needs black. So I'm going to leave the white. I'm going to add the black to it. And I want it to look like it's just hand drawn. So I'm not trying to go right on top of or exactly next to the white. Just in general. Just in general. Okay, that helps, and you can still see the white, which I do like. Okay, also feels like it needs something on the inside, and tomorrow when that dries, if it's just too light, I can add, I'll add a dot of black right inside that. But right now, I think I'm going to do a dot of black in each of the corners as if they were brads. Helps to give it just a little bit of frame. I did not mount it on anything, so I like the background. I'm wishing there was more right here. We got several of these marks. We got some music and the other things down here, but I'm wishing that more of some of these were right here. So as soon as these all dry tomorrow, turning that upside down, I need to leave it flat. I can come in with those mark making stamps and stamp in this area right here a little bit more. All right, so we need to leave that flat. We're going to leave that flat and try not to stick my fingers on that one either. Okay, so we have this one. We have this one. This one looks like just needs a little black dot like a brad in every corner. Oops. I mushed that one, but yeah, it's okay. It's handmade. Try to get a little bit, and it's black paper on the outside, so that helps cover it. So not as visible. All of that off, or all I do is smear it around. And if I want to, I can go over that area with white gel pen tomorrow when that's all dry. But I think that will be fine on there. So then, is that enough? Is that all it needs? Now I've got black all over me. Do I want, let's see, what are the colors that, see, so I think some of the colors look better with some than others because of, you know, the base being dark or light. And I think we could use several of them on here. So that, I think it's peach sorbet, nope, orange marmalade. I feel like the orange marmalade, and there we go, sticking finger in it already. Can go down here, just some tiny little dots. Okay, and then up the top is more yellow, so that might need more of a pink. Let's do this one right here. Trying to hold it down and not stick my fingers in the dots I've already done. I'm going to finish up with this. Oh, the last thing I'll show you is how I did the splatters, although I probably don't need to show you that. Y'all know how to do splatters. There are multiple ways you can do splatters. You can use paint or ink or watercolor pencil. If you have paint handy, acrylic paint, just take a little bit of black or white, whatever splatter you want to do, and put it into a tiny dish, just a tiny bit, and add water until it's just runny, so it will splat. Okay, those might look kind of cool by the time they are done. So we're going to set that aside and let that completely dry. Let me get this out of the way. So I'll stick my hand in that. Just slide all those back up. Get them out of the way. Okay, so all I would do is put down probably a couple of napkins if I'm going to splat on these. And they're pretty dark backgrounds, so I would probably splat in white. I could use this distress spray stain. I could use white, as I said, acrylic paint or watercolor pencil. Because this one is right here, I'm going to use it right now. But all I'm going to do is take this out. You can spray it. I can't control most of these spritzers well enough that I get what I like. So I'm much better off. I do tap off the end, because if I don't, then I typically end up with one great big splotch somewhere. And if I don't want, sometimes I want a big one so I have quite a variety. But if I don't want a great big spot, just go and clear up there. So maybe I need to hold my hand clear down here. It's going the wrong place. How about this way? If I don't want a great big splotch, then I probably want to tap off that end. There we go. And some people will go like this, whichever way feels right to you, or feel like you can control it better. It doesn't really matter. And I end up with some paint on here, which I can then wipe onto something else to use, or just wipe it off, or let it dry and leave it on there. It doesn't really make a whole lot of difference, but that's how you get the splatters on the background. So typically do that before putting the fodder down. On these, I did put the splatters on after I drew the fodder on these. So the splatters would go over the top of it as if it was a Charlie Brown tree out in the forest. So, all right, I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you pull out your backgrounds from a couple of weeks ago and make some ATCs, have some fun with it, make something that you'll use. And you could even make larger ones that you could use as journal cards in your journals. You can make a whole bunch of ATCs and then put them together and make an ATC book. If you're going to retreat, you definitely want to make some ATCs. We'll be talking about that as well, but we've already mentioned that. And so you know that that's coming up, that you'll want to bring some ATCs with you already made. Join us in Happy Paper People Facebook group. Every Monday we meet here on YouTube for a Monday Jumpstart at noon Mountain Time. and we have lots of videos with lots of tutorials and lots of things going on. And don't forget the challenge right now. All you need to do is post in the Facebook group at least 3 times a week. Most of you are doing that already, but don't forget the hashtag HPP5MINDAY. That is hashtag HPP 5 minutes a day. And that is to remind us, as we are in this busy 4th quarter of the year, to try to take 5 minutes every day to do something creative to help our mind relax and get out of the craziness of the day. And that might be planning a holiday menu. That's creative. It might be just pulling the paper for your next project or deciding what that next project will be. That might be sitting down with a bunch of paper and dies and die cutting a bunch of things that you'll have ready to work with. There's anything that you can do that is creative. It does not mean you actually have to make something and come out with something completed. It might be just doing the background or splattering the ATCs that you already did, so now they're ready for the next step. At least it's progress, and you got your fingers in paint for a minute, and that's what's important. So thanks for joining me. Love the opportunity to be in chat with you, and don't forget to post your items in the Facebook group because we love to see what you're making. We'll see you soon. Bye.